Okay guys, today we're going to be going over the Cold War, which is going to be the war right after World War II, because two superpowers are going to go at it. Now the roots of the Cold War, the United States wanted to spread a democracy and a free enterprise system, while the Soviet Union wanted countries to adopt communism, where it's more ran by the government. A democracy we know is going to be where you have free elections and people are able to have liberties and freedoms. Communism, the government has full control. Now, the Cold War, it says it's the Soviet Union versus the United States. So it's SU versus US. And it was given the term cold because of nuclear weapons that were used, and these two countries never directly confronted each other. Kind of like a chess game where you're going to have two main players using pawns, and those pawns are going to be countries throughout the world. And it led to conflicts on every single continent. Now, a couple of differences between the Soviet communism and American democracy. Here you can see the political systems. It's a one political party, the Communist Party, while in a democracy you have a multi-party democracy. We'll be going more into detail with this in class by creating a chart. Now, Joseph Stalin is going to be the leader of the Soviet Union, and he was originally supposed to create a classless society where everyone is equal. In theory, communism is a great idea where there is no rich or poor. However, when it is in practice, it does not work. He also established a brutal dictatorship where he had absolute control, right? You try to go against him, he killed you right away. Opponents were also sent to gulags, which are forced labor camps in Siberia. And if you remember your world geography classes, Siberia is going to be a very, very, very cold desert, right? And of course a meme that you'll see there. Now the Yalta and the Potsdam conferences, we briefly touched these earlier this week. The Yalta conference is where the big three met. They plan to reorganize Europe after the war, right? What was going to happen to the European countries that were taken over by Germany. And they agreed to create the United Nations, right, where they would defend each other, kind of like the League of Nations, but with more communication. And the United States would be part of this one. It divided Germany, and it allowed free elections, right, for those countries that were taken over by Germany. Now, at the Potsdam Conference, Stalin does not comply with any of the agreements from Yalta. Like I told you earlier this week, the only one from the Yalta Conference that showed up to the Potsdam Conference would be Stalin. FDR and Churchill were no longer in power. Well, FDR had died, so it was going to be Truman and then the new leader for Great Britain. So they didn't show up, and Stalin doesn't comply with anything, and this is what starts the Cold War. So the Cold War begins. The Soviet Union distrusted the West. They felt that, they were not going to allow, or he felt that the West would not allow communism to spread. He created a buffer of satellite countries to prevent invasion. Now, satellite nations are going to be those small nations that are going to surround the Soviet Union. So that way it's more difficult for the United States or the other Western countries to go into the Soviet Union and attack. They refused free elections in Poland. The United States refused to share secrets behind the atomic bomb, of course. Communist soldiers were placed in Eastern Europe, right, Eastern Europe. And trade and contact were cut off. An iron curtain fell over Eastern Europe, and here you can see the green line that's going to divide Germany and the rest of Europe. So basically you're going to have the Western countries to be democracies, while the Eastern countries are going to be communist. And of course we have this division. So the Iron Curtain, you can see here, East Germany and the rest of the Eastern countries, and then you're going to have West Germany and the rest of the Western countries. If you have any questions, you let me know. See you in class.